Why is shame such a powerful emotion? How does it affect us mentally, physically, emotionally? I'm Nadia Davis. I'm a mom, author, attorney, and kundalini yoga teacher who has experienced public shaming that brought me to my knees. On this podcast, I'm going to tell you how I'm living the work taking shame out of the shadows. I'll give you real-life advice and skills to take away with you throughout your day. You'll hear from powerful guests who have overcome trauma and emerged stronger than ever. You too can ban the shame within and around you. Join me. You are not alone. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Home is Within You. Today, we have one of my favorite absolute regular guests, Priya Jain, the founder of Seventh Chakra Institute of Spiritual Sciences and so many different kundalini yoga and spiritual trainings. I am very excited to have her here. I had an experience yesterday driving home from San Luis Obispo. I had taken the boys to visit Diego. And they had conked out, and I was listening to the audiobook of The Body Keeps the Score. And there's a part that is about losing the body, losing the self. And it helped me to kind of depersonalize how I had a bad picker in the past. And I have found that understanding the neurological effect of trauma on our brain, and what it talked about is this prefrontal cortex does not get activated as normally as somebody that is a controlled subject, is what they call it, that doesn't have trauma in the past. That when the prefrontal cortex isn't activated, that part of our brain that gauges from direct eye contact one's intentions, one's agenda, one's trustworthiness, that doesn't get activated as much in trauma survivors. And so I'm listening to this, and it continues to discuss how that affects, children as they're growing up. And today, as I'm home just kind of doing chores, I realize, well, why is that piece of information so fascinating to me? Because as a trauma survivor, my initial healing began absolutely with breath work and reconnecting to my body to even just feel I was present in my body several years ago. And I have to keep that up regularly. And something about hearing information about my body, my brain, that explains how it reacted in the past and how I perhaps was not gauging people accurately and got myself into situations with people that took advantage of me, for lack of a better phrase, that where there was interpersonal fraud and things of that sort, and not understanding like how that happens just from a structural standpoint. Having that explanation helps to like ban some of the shame about those choices. But I'm seeking to never repeat that, but I'm also seeking to protect this home that I've created within me. And throughout the level 2 trainings with 7 chakra yoga, especially the mind and meditation, I have learned a whole lot more about the part that is called our negative mind. And I've learned I need to work to keep that balanced. I think that separate from physical trauma and healing and therapy, that there's this whole other side through spirituality, through mindfulness, that that I want to overlap into the listeners of this podcast. And so I'm going to ask you to explain what the negative mind is, because most people think it's the negative, like the self-critical, and we are trained to change that. But there is a healthy part of the negative mind that is protective, that assesses situations and other people and can set the healthy boundaries and limitations. And so I want to know what you, Priya, would say to somebody who is receiving this different information, beginning a trauma healing journey, and someone says to them, well, your prefrontal cortex wasn't necessarily working properly. There is this realization that can help you ban shame, and then you can flip it to, okay, this thought is coming up. I'm not going to take a ride. What is my soul trying to tell me? Through the negative mind. And that's where I would hope that you can lead us.
Okay. That's a lot.
I know. I tried to capitalize it.
No, but it's good. This is a good topic that you're bringing up. So, yes, let's first talk about the negative mind. And like you presented, it's the negative mind because it reveals to you what is negative that you need to watch out for, what could potentially harm you. So, in that sense, it is the protective mind, but it is a blind protective mind, which means anything that scares us, whether it serves us or not, like a potential opportunity that could lead me to abundance or fulfillment, can also scare me. So my egoic self is warning me with this early warning system that is saying there is a potential of danger here. You could be embarrassed, you could be a failure, you could die. Because for the negative mind, all three mean the same thing. Failure means death, embarrassment means death, rejection means death, right? So our protective mind, our negative mind, is trying to tell us, hey, there's a potential here that you could die, because that's how it interprets everything in terms of death. And so the negative mind is very deeply rooted into the first chakra. And our first chakra is very primal, it's animalistic in nature. So our root chakra is the same within us as well as all the animals. We, that's what creates our animal self, right? We are primarily an animal if we don't turn on that prefrontal cortex. That's what changes us into a human being.
So
Which
whenever I
allows us to
say
be
how our mind is survivalist in nature and it goes into those fear and judgments versus choosing love in the soul neutral answers,
well, I would
realizing
differ
that.
on that. I
Okay,
would just beg to differ on that. I don't think the mind is survivalist. The mind is a vehicle and it is available to use both to the soul and the ego. The ego is survivalist.
got it.
But if my soul uses my mind, it is not survival. It can take me to the peaks of bliss and connection.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Say more.
let's not diss the mind. The mind is an amazing instrument. It's like a vehicle. It's like a car.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends who's driving on the car,
Mm-hmm.
who's sitting in the driver's seat. If it is
And
my
if
negative mind and my ego, oh yeah, I'm going to have those implications and those thoughts will multiply. But if I'm in my heart and my soul is driving my mind, I can have such waves, abundant waves upon waves of positive thoughts.
and creating.
Feeling of connection. It's the same mind that is creating a different perception depending on who's driving the mind.
Right.
Mind is a wonderful instrument. We can't experience anything without it.
So when you are describing the negative mind, because we have the positive, the neutral, and the negative mind, and it's that part of it that you're saying is related to the animal
Animals.
survival instinct.
Correct.
And so if it's not balanced, then it could go haywire, like you're
Then
talking
we
about.
are simply animals. We don't
Okay.
have any discerning ability. That's what the prefrontal cortex gives us. It gives us the ability to discern, which is what literally allows us to become human beings. The power to make conscious choices. Animals don't make conscious choices. Even though they make choices, they're not conscious, they're instinctual.
So if you heard me say, then in The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk, MD, they did a wide variety of these studies where they showed people a set of eyes, Richard Gere, by the way, and they noticed that in chronic trauma survivors, there was no prefrontal cortex activation,
Hmm.
whereas in controlled population studies, it had a normal activation. What are your thoughts then about that?
So, first of all, everybody experiences trauma differently based on a level of like nervous system strength, sensitivity. Like something that could be traumatic for you might not be a big deal for me, right?
Right,
Something
right.
that's traumatic for me might not be a big deal for you. But the whole essence of trauma is that it puts us into survival mode. It takes us immediately into our root chakra, the first chakra, which is all about survival. So everything in our body begins to serve our survival instinct. So we are pretty much dropped into an animal that's been hurt.
Okay.
Just think of an animal that or a dog that's been hurt. How would they respond or react? So if I have a lovely dog, as you know, Gordita.
Yeah.
So if we are trying to discipline her. What her tail tucks under, if she thinks we are upset with her tail tucks under, her body posture changes. Now she's completely at the will and mercy of our instruction if she gets scared.
What is the point, and is there a window prior to that that we can reach where the gauging
Mm.
is there, the balanced negative mind is there, and the severe reaction doesn't have to
The
happen?
beauty of us human beings is that we don't have to stay stuck there.
Okay.
Trauma will drop us into an animal state of pure survival. And whatever we need to do for that, or just primal instincts, which is sexuality, food, shelter, and safety. These are primal needs. So when somebody's traumatized, they can make discerning choices about even any of these. They'll take whatever comes, whatever makes them feel safe or comfortable. Does it make sense? So,
Absolutely.
if in that state of trauma you were making choices, even interpersonal relationship choices, you were choosing things that were making you feel safe in the moment. They were not about long term, healthy relationships. Does it
And
make
that
sense?
assessment, right, the assessment of the intentions, the agenda, the deeper part.
It's not there. You simply are acting on your animal instinct.
So nurturing then the awareness of this aspect and all the ways that it shows up, building awareness of that, then where do we go then from there? Where
And like with your own experience, when you make those choices in a state of trauma and you look back, it drops you into shame. You
right.
criticize yourself. Your negative mind turns against you and starts to criticize you for those choices and for possibly the consequences of those choices. But like I said, the human beings are amazing beings. We don't just have the animal. We do have the human, which is the part where we make choices, and then we have the angelic, where we can rise above all of this and see this from a bird's eye view. So, what you did, from what I can tell you, from my experience with you, even in that state where you were so bound up, you sought something that would give you the ability to become human again. You sought breath work. You sought us out with yogic practices. It is the breath work, it is the yogic practices that strengthen your nervous system, which allowed your psyche to step out of the trauma phase little by little. It was a slow process,
Right.
very slow and gentle process, but you kept up no matter how painful it was. That will is a human quality. No matter how much that animal self kept saying, hey, just let this all go back into your little hole, recede back into a pattern that feels comfortable in the moment, you kept showing up. No matter how many times you slipped, you kept
So
showing
it
up.
was switching the negative mind. It was using the survival then in the positive way versus staying stuck. And
Animal.
it's tapping into that. It's the second of the 10 bodies.
The negative mind?
Is that
Yes.
correct? Yeah.
Mhm. Yes.
And so reconnecting then to the body so that we're not like in the chapter of the book, it says losing the body, losing the sense of self. So it's circular with the breath work, reconnecting to the body, more personalization instead of the trauma depersonalization. And through that, then it
It's
opened the door
yeah.
for more mindfulness, but you can't go the other way.
Exactly. And but the interesting thing is this, when you say, let's say I've hit rock bottom, whether it's through trauma, whether through whatever it is, I'm in my root chakra. My negative mind is simply wanting to keep me in survival mode. But the root chakra is the polar opposite to the soul body. It's the other end, but it's a circular system, which means when you feel you have hit rock bottom and you seek out soul, you can begin to repair your prefrontal cortex.
Say more.
So, again, taking back to your own journey, what you sought with us, you didn't come here just for breath work. Something instinctively in your being, your soul was guiding you towards itself. You were so cut off from it, even though you could hear it, you couldn't act on it. You
Mhm.
were acting from your negative mind, your survival mind, right?
Well, they say it's associated with the longing to belong, the longing to
To
be
belong.
part of.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, that is a big part of us being human and different than animal species. This
Hmm.
longing to belong. But the longing to belong is the longing to belong to the soul. So your movement away from that,
There you go.
you were trying to survive, but not just survive physically. You knew that even though you were surviving, you weren't surviving. It's very hard to live in that animal state for us human beings for a very long
A long
time.
time.
At some point, we will feel that calling from the soul and say, come to me and I can fix this. And that's why you came to us. You came to us looking for your soul. It was connecting to your soul that got you into your body.
I see.
And now
So
we can
when the
work.
negative mind, then I want to nurture the healthy level. Um, because sometimes I feel it was on an extreme. Other times I feel it was completely shut off.
Mhm.
Does that
Exactly.
make sense?
Totally. It's misplaced. Like where it should protect you, it didn't. And where it should have asked you to take chances, it protected you.
So in that listening to the soul more and more through the breath work and feeling safe in one's body more and more slowly.
Meditative tools, meditative states allows you to nurture your neutral mind. Because if you want to make your negative mind balanced, you can't work on the negative mind directly. You will have
Okay.
to go to the neutral mind, and the neutral mind, when you enhance that, it naturally balances the negative and the positive.
Okay, say more.
So we think if my negative mind is off, whether through trauma, where it, like you said, it should have protected me from making some decisions that I shouldn't be making. It put me in harm's way. It didn't protect me there. It didn't give me that instinct to stop. That means it was off It's game. It wasn't serving you the way it was meant to serve you. There was a malfunction in there due to trauma.
A lot was believing love is earned and not innate in me, not having that we that that sense of that self, that satnam within
And
to
that's the
then be able
journey.
to
We
gauge.
all
Yes.
think love is earned, and to some degree it is, in different stages, in different relationships, in different, if you go to work, if you're not providing any value, you're not going to get the love back in terms of respect or trust, right? So in
Mhm.
some areas, yes, it needs to be earned.
Mm.
But the love that we talk about in the yogic terms, that love is always there. It's
Right.
an unending ocean. But to arrive at that, we have to cross the lower three chakras. We have to get to know how those three chakras work. We have to kind of pay our due to the lower three chakras to arrive at the fourth chakra, right?
Right.
So for every one of us, where you can see that from your kids, they go to school, they have to earn their grades. So this earning process in the collective is the lower three chakras. We have to figure out our work hard to find a place in this. And at some point, we fall, we just drop into the fourth. We have a realization, hang on a second, whatever I need is already here. And that usually doesn't happen until right, about 35 to 40 years. What we call a midlife crisis is really not a crisis. It's really a calling from the soul and saying, hey, you played in the world enough. Check out
Right.
yourself. Like you are an unending ocean of love.
Right.
And that's when, if you can step into that, even that takes practice, then you stop looking outwards at that point.
So I have a question.
Mhm.
Does our soul, with a literal like intention of working on the neutral mind to ensure a balanced negative mind, does our soul need us to do that? Does it need protection? Does it need us to ensure that we are uh, listening in Sunye to those warnings, those gauges?
So anything that's within us has been created by the soul. Anything, the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever, however we perceive it, it was created by the soul in order to have an experience of this existence that takes place within the body, right? So the soul put on the garment of this body. It's like a sheath,
Mm-hmm.
but this body is fragile in this earthly existence. It's pretty fragile. So the negative mind was given to this body, to this being, to this apparatus,
Mm-hmm.
so we can protect the vessel within which the soul is traveling in this lifetime. If the vessel is damaged or broken or dies, then the soul's journey is cut short. That was the purpose of the negative mind. Think of it like an armor for the king or the queen as she walks through her kingdom,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Interesting.
So that's all it is. That's what the negative mind is for. In case something comes at you, you're protected. Like even the earth wears a translucent atmosphere for protection,
Mm-hmm. It's
right?
so fascinating to look back and to see today the the awareness of I just had no gauge, Priya, and I had no gauge of, or I felt that I had to pull out the authenticity of somebody. I had to see with unconditional love their true self and accept it. And so for me today, the love that you're talking about, that and that soul connection to it, I don't know if I'm off by saying this, but that has to be protected in some way because I feel that it attracts those without it. And I can't assess the intentions very well. At least I couldn't. I can definitely much more now. And our last discussion about one needing a relationship with their soul and them having self-acceptance. I mean, all of that can be easily observed in another. But why was I not ensuring that is what I find
Because the
interesting over the last
need
6 years, you
because
know?
the need of the survivalist, the egoic self, it desires comfort and security. And it doesn't care if it's only in this moment. It wants instantaneous gratification for comfort and security. It overrides the intuition of the heart.
It's fascinating.
It is. So your heart chakra, it in itself comes with a protective mechanism. It's fascinating to watch. So the negative mind is not just serving the root chakra, it's serving every level within us. The beauty of the heart chakra is that it is so sensitive to authenticity that the moment it senses inauthenticity, it closes. It naturally does that without involving your mind. But if we still
Hmm.
continue to make a choice, believing that inauthenticity is authentic, and we move forward into that relationship or what that is to satisfy the urge of the first chakra or the second chakra to want the comfort. It
I
has
see.
nothing to do with the heart.
I see.
Your heart comes with a mechanism, it will close instantaneously if it does not sense
And
authenticity.
I definitely have sensed that.
Yes.
Definitely. I see what you're saying. So it's balancing those completely. And I feel that I am there, but I didn't know if it was strengthening or the negative instincts. I don't think so. I think it's more using the heart to
Yeah,
listen, to
absolutely.
listen to the negative
Absolutely. And
mind.
like I've said before, as women, we have this amazing blessing of having the heart arc line, which makes our intuition so much more pronounced. So we
Hmm.
can sense it if we allow it, if we don't override it with our mind.
Right.
Or the instincts like, come, I want this, I need validation, or all these other very subtle things that bubble up from the other chakras and override or color our,
Hmm.
our mind's perception. And we can validate any choice we want to
It's
make.
the heart. It's the heart.
It's the heart that only tells the truth. The heart
Right.
is the only place that is, like I said, it cannot be hijacked by the ego. The heart will close immediately as soon as it senses the ego approach.
Bam. So it's through the heart chakra receiving the messages of the negative mind.
Exactly. Exactly. And it'll tell you why. Well, sometimes it won't even tell you, it'll say no.
Exactly. And you
No.
said it will shut off. Yes. And I have experienced that.
And sometimes you
And
find
I'm
out
not
in
just speaking.
hindsight why it said no.
Yes. Yes. And this isn't just relationship. This is
Anything, career,
projects, work. Yes.
even a moment to, should I buy this or should I not buy this?
Right.
You
It's
know,
it's
it's
giving, it's
everything.
creating, it's yes.
Everything.
Okay. Any mantra or set of breath work that you recommend? I know in every Kundalini yoga class we begin with two different mantras, and one is the Adgure Name, and I do believe that that's associated very much with encouraging a balanced negative mind. What would you say about that?
Absolutely, because it is the mantra for protection. And the more protected you feel, the more closer you feel to the universe. And the more your heart
Ah,
can relax and open up.
I love that. Say that again.
So the Ad Gure Name, Jugad Gure Name, Sat Gure Name, Siri Guru Deve
Gurudev
Name
Name.
is a mantra for protection. the more protected we feel, the more our heart can open and we can relax into the heart. The more we relax into the heart, more the prefrontal cortex begins to heal. The more that begins to heal, the more you can rise out of your survival instinct and easier you can heal your trauma. Traumas are healable. They're
Yes.
not fixed in time and space. So,
And they are healable, and we can use that part of our mind to keep us safe
yes,
through the heart.
through the heart. And knowing that your soul is always here to direct you if you take pause and let it speak its truth and you're willing to follow it. Don't override it with any other validation. That is the work we need to do.
Right. That is it.
But our system is doing its work. It's a very intelligent system, self balancing in a way.
But the soul and heart listening is the key.
That is the key.
Yeah.
Absolutely is the key. And everything can be healed from that space.
Yes, it can. I love you.
I love you too.
I love you. Thank you so much for making it work today.
No, thank you.
That
I'm so glad it did work.
that was very helpful, I think. I mean, for myself, and I think for others listening.
I'm
We
grateful.
need the negative mind as long
We
as we're
do.
listening to it through our heart. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Love you.
Love you.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye. You are not alone. If you are dealing with shame and trauma, please reach out to me through my website, nadia-davis.com. You can get a free band shame tip sheet and find out about upcoming events. I'd love it if you picked up my book, Home is Within You, wherever books are sold. If you like this podcast, please tell a friend, leave a review, and make sure to follow me on Apple, Google, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Sending warm hugs.